good old boy, he's got a story to tell. Tavin will mow your grass and make it look so well. Now Tavin goes donut goals when in town he comes, getting strength for his haunches to cannonball for fun. Tavin ramping up the holler, Tavin trying to make a dollar, Tavin.
Welcome to the Tavin Dillard podcast, y'all guys. Season 14's episode 3's. So glad you joined me today in the merry month of August. If you listen to this on the day it come out, you know it's August the 12th. My name is Tavin Dillard, and of course you know the name of the podcast. I done said that already. I got Tavin's Lawn Care Services. I'm a mowing, edging, grass cutting legend. Welcome in, y'all guys. How's it going? Me, I'm doing pretty good. I wanted to catch up on some things, though. You folks that have reached out to me, texted me, whatnotted, you know, over the last couple of weeks, I wanted to catch up with. I got an email from Joey just here in a minute. I meant to include it last week, and I forgot. And so I'm going to get to that just in a second. Let's see. Yep, I want to get that. Bob Lloyd, thank you, Bob. Him and his family bought some shirts, and he sent me a picture. He's in the Burger Shed shirt, and then they had a Possum Peg Leg shirt and a Rachel Christine shirt. So I'll put a link to the shirts in the show notes today. Reason I'll come is, you know, I got an idea this week because, you know, there ain't a sponsor for my podcast episode. I don't know how long a fella can do a free podcast. I guess we'll see, but I was listening to Cooking Up a Story. That's another podcast. I don't know if you heard about it, but there's a fella, Joe, on there that hosts the show. He's like thanking somebody for Venmoing him. Like, hey, they gave us like a tip or something for the podcast. And I think they got sponsors too. But anyhow, I was like, well, I got a Venmo. I had a Venmo for a couple years. And maybe I should let folks know it exists in case you just want to help out the podcast or whatever. You can do that. So I'll put that in the show notes today. Then I was listening to my buddy Clay Newcomb. He got a podcast called Bear Grease. And then Joe from Cooking Up a Story was a guest on Bear Grease. And he, you know, Joe runs this thing called like the Squirrel Cook-Off out in Arkansas, which is where I'm from. And boy, they said on the podcast they need more judges for the Squirrel Cook-Off, where people go, I think September's, and judge all these squirrel dishes that folks cook up. And hey, Joe, I don't know you. You don't know me, but holler if you need a judge. You know, I'll be out there eating some squirrel. But anyhow, my Venmo is going to be in the show notes today. And then thanks, Bob. And then I want to get to Joey's question to me. He said, greetings, my friend. As a fellow mowing, edging, and grass cutting legend from East Texas, I have something you need to try that works great. Strap on a backpack blower, okay? Backpack blower. And get on your bicycle. Turn the blowing snout towards the back and rev up the blower. You can move pretty fast without pedaling. It may help getting around without wearing out your 93 Ford Ranger, as well as turn some heads at Chancellor Park. Your friend Joey F. Thanks, Joey. So, you know, Joey's ain't asking me no question. He trying to give me some help. And I see how that work. You know, when I'm on my bike, I guess if you strap that leaf blower down like that away, and you got to have some you can't have one of them battery operated ones. The other thing is, you're going to have to figure out, depending on the blower you got, you got a lot of them, they triggers. So you're going to have that trigger taped down or something like that away. But I guess you can get a little extra boost, you know, if your haunches ain't as strong that day, like maybe you ain't had your apple frittler or kicked off the day with some chocolate milk or that kind of thing. So not a bad idea, Joey. That's what we call thinking outside the box. And I appreciate that. I really do. And what else? So thanks for sending that in. Good to hear from y'all this week. I had an art auction. What happened? Well, every now and then, you know, I doodle around. I mentioned those shirts that Bob picked up, you know, the Bud's Burger Shed and the Rachel Christine. I drawed that. The Peg Leg Possum, I drawed that. So sometimes I'll tinker around, you know, drawing things. And in my trailer, there's this thing, I just wrote Peekaboo on the paper when I was trying to figure out how to design the hat, you know, sometime in the last year or so. And I was like, well, I don't need this piece of paper that I was kind of workshopping on. You know, it's pretty standard art, though. I think, you know, it could turn some heads. So I just put it on the eBay and had a 3-day auction last week. and auctioned off this Picklebone. Is 11 inches long because it's like standard copy paper, but then only 3 inches tall because it's cut in a strip. And then I signed the bottom of it and auctioned it off like that way. Just, I got on, Facebook Live and TikTok Live and let folks know there's an auction going on. I posted it on the Instagram, the YouTubes, the Facebooks, and the TikToks, and the Twitters or the X or whatever, and all them, and let people know. And I also texted my friends, and you can text me too, 501-322-6249. And that's a good way to stay in touch. But folks texted me, and I let them know, hey, this auction's going on, and got to share some art with the world. So anyhow, if you want to check the show notes today, you're going to find a few things, and then let's get going here. One is the Venmo for me. If you want to help out the podcast, feel free to do that. Love to help. And then I'll put just a link to all my shirts. I mentioned Bob bought Rachel Christine and Possum Peg Leg and all that. But we got the Picklebone shirts, the Bank, the pig, all the different parts of the pig, all kinds of stuff. But and go ahead and use the code Possum. Little back to school, get 20% off, POSSUM at checkout. Might want to get the Possum Keep shirt, thinking of that. But I'll put that link in the show notes today. And then y'all be in Nashville, October 19th. Now it's time to get the tickets. I'll be there, in a couple months. So tickets are gone on sale. And if you want to get tickets to that show, come see me. It's an hour of stand-up comedy. There are meet and greet tickets available too. I hope my Tennessee friends and folks in the surrounding community can help show up and make that show a success. And then finally, folks have been contacting me about some donut stuff. I may have more donut news too. Thank y'all that sent in your local donut shops last week. I'm starting to reach out to donut shops, working on this nationwide kind of a discount card I'm brainstorming and workshopping. So appreciate y'all being a part of that. And that's how it goes. But what was going on this week in my neck of the woods? Well, game number 13 of the softball season, y'all guys. And then I got a little wilderness pack news for you. What's a wilderness pack, Tavin? Well, stay tuned, y'all guys. You're about to find out. You're about to find out in just a minute. Team Burger Shed, though, that's my softball team. You know that. We 9-3 heading into this week's game with the auto parts store. Russell Tucker, though, what he did this week, Russell. He got Ronnie Keith and Jesse, them's his boys. And his sister's Mary Beth Tucker, and she's dating Myron Curtis. And Mary Beth went to school for horses and work at a veterinary, and she brought her horse to the fields last week. And you can go back and listen to last week's episode if you missed that, because I do not want to relive all of that drama that went down at the softball fields and the concession stand. Partly thanks to Mary Beth Tucker. But anyhow, Russell, what he did this week was lead a wilderness pack to a camp out at the softball fields. So wilderness pack, that's like little kiddos, like they old enough to play t-ball, but they ain't gonna be able to drive a car yet, not legally at least. And his little boy Jesse's about that age. Champ Tharp, his folks run Lady in the trampoline delivery service in our county. And then Perry Lee Grubbs, that's Shane and Cheryl Grubbs' little boy. Shane and Cheryl run Donut Goes, which is the donut store in town. But anyhow, it's that kind of age. It's like a little outdoor, you learning survival skills, you learning how to build fires and camp out and live off the land, that kind of thing. Well, these folks, these little kiddos with wilderness packs, they's living off the land of the softball fields. They camping out in town, learning them survival skills, but they ain't going out of town. Like I'm saying, they in the middle of town. They playing, or they basically where we going to be playing softball come softball night, but this is the middle of the week. So anyhow, Russell called me. You know how folks can call you on the telephone. I ain't got to explain that to you. I was already in my trailer trying to recover from a rock fight that broke out in my trailer park. Y'all know I live in Chancellor Park. That's the trailer park I live in, and a full-on rock fight broke out. Now, it ain't hard for a rock fight to break out because we ain't got a lot of lawn or grass. For being a lawn mowing man, I live in a gravel trailer park. It's exactly what it sounds like, though, so I ain't going to explain a rock fight, but I don't go all out against them kiddos because we got little kiddos. They're mischievous. They got it in them, and they think, boy, there's something here I could pick up and throw. What would stop me from throwing it? Not much. At the end of the day, not much would stop them from throwing it. But I played hard enough for everybody to have fun. I would recommend, though, if you get in a rock fight, to wear goggles, because you get your eye turned around. It's really hard to turn it back front ways again. I mean, you'd be cross-eyed. Could be the rest of your life, you know, so you just got to be careful in a rock fight. But that was done. But you can imagine, I mean, because it used every muscle in your body gets used at the old rock fight. You got to duck, you got to run, you got to pick up, you got to throw. You're using legs, arms, head, neck, haunches, triceps, biceps, forceps, interceptions, all them things, your abominable muscles, all of them things getting used in a rock fight. And then you get out of that and you just poop. So I'm home in the trailer. Russell calls me on that telephone, like I was saying, and asks if I can bring a rake and a box down to the fields in town where he's leading a wilderness pack to have a camp out. I'm thinking, why in the world do you need a rake and a box? Because maybe that's part of their thing. You know, I'm thinking for a little bit. I'm thinking, well, maybe the rake that they learning to like clean up their community. You know, they going to rake, but there ain't no trees at the softball field. So ain't no leaves getting on the softball fields, really. You know, it's just like, I mean, you got hay bales on the other side of the center field wall where Chet Dilroy leads them junior archers, and they practice shooting them arrows at hay bales. But I didn't think that, you know, the hay bale got loose on the softball fields. They need to rake that up. So I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, of course I got a rake. I'm a lawn mowing man. Of course I got a rake, Russell. But why you calling me at night when y'all having a camp out asking me for a rake and a box? Like, how big a box? You know, we had to go through all that. Is this shoebox size, a little bit bigger? That kind of thing. And then you got to figure out, hey, do I have a box that needs to be taped together? You know, is it already broke down? You know, something like you might backspin on or do a little breakdancing? Or do I already got one that's already put together and I can just, you know, carry it and go? And, but I needed more information, you know. I mean, I guess I don't need to have it. A friend calls you, asks for something, you can just give it, no questions asked. But I was too curious. I was too curious just to let that go. Like, yeah, I'll be down in a minute with a rake and a box, no big deal, Russell. So I said, what's going on? He goes, we got a skunk down here at the softball fields. We got him cornered. And I'm like, well, let him go, Russell. There ain't no victory in catching a skunk. You know what a skunk's going to do? I mean, I guess if you Millie Ricks, I mean, she picked up a skunk before, but she can't hear too well, see too well, or smell too well. So for all she'd know, it skunked her and she didn't care none because she can't smell it. I don't know. But I'm saying, y'all got little kiddos down there trying to learn the basic survival skills. One of the things you need to know to survive is you ain't got to corner a skunk. Just let it go, Russell. And he said, well, Tavin, I would if I could. I'm telling you, there's a reason I'm asking for all this stuff. This skunk's head is caught in Perry Lee's backpack. What happened, I guess, is Perry Lee Grubbs, you know, Shane and Cheryl's little boy, they like the sugar. You can't not like sugar and run a donut shop. You know, that's just bottom line. But he had some loose Jolly Ranchers. And by loose, I don't mean just individual ones that are wrapped and rolling around in his backpack. I mean individual and unwrapped, like loose Jolly Ranchers in that bag, and a peanut butter sandwich out of the bag. So this is in his backpack. So that skunk, I guess, with a little skunk nose, smelt that thing and said, Pickle Boone, I'm getting in this backpack and I'm going to get a hold of whatever I smell in there. And then lo and behold, this skunk found them loose Jolly Ranchers and a peanut butter sandwich. But thing is, got his little head caught. Now, a skunk can get a real narrow head, and I don't know if he got his fur caught in a zipper or what it was, but he wasn't able to get out of this backpack. So now all of a sudden, you got a skunk with his mouth and his little teeth and his little skunk snout all over Jolly Ranchers and peanut butter jelly, or not even jelly, just a peanut butter sandwich in Perry Lee Grove's backpack, and he can't get out. And Russell Tucker's calling me on the phone to get down there with a rake and a box so that they can take care of this skunk and set him free or whatever. So Russell's leading the charge with this. And of course, once I hear this, I get down there. I'm happy to help you either way. But now that I know, I want a front row seat to whatever's about to happen at this point. I mean, not front row because I don't want to get skunked, but I got to get there. I got to get all the details firsthand eyewitness kind of way. So I'm there for the show. Perry Lee Grubbs, he's trying to help with the rake because part of it is Russell's trying to train these kiddos. Hey, I guess, you know, like, hey, if you ever get a skunk's head caught in your backpack, here's some, you know, something that, you know, They ain't got a handbook for everything, y'all guys. Some of it's on real life, on the job training kind of thing. And so you got paralegal grubs holding a rake and a skunk just rooting around trying to back out of a backpack. But maybe he ain't trying too hard because he ain't finished the Jolly Ranchers yet. I don't know the whole story, but I'm there and I just know because I ain't in the skunk's head. And I don't speak skunk, so I don't know how they communicate, but I'm telling you, his head is in the backpack. There is food in that backpack, and he's trying to get it, but he also wants to get out that backpack, so, you know, he's conflicted. Should I do this? Should I do that? That's all I can get her, and it ain't a happy skunk. I can figure just by his body language that it ain't a happy skunk. Well, Paralegal Grub swings that rake and hits Champ Tharp, trying to swing it to Skunk. Of course, he ain't trying to swing at Champ, but he hit Champ with it, and now Champ's feeling a little woozy, and he starts to walk home. Well, if you at a wilderness pack camp out supposed to take place at the softball fields in town, you can't be showing up alone at your home at night saying, hey, I just walked home, and his parents would be like, where's the adults, you know, kind of thing. You can't just walk home when you got hit in the head with a rake, Champ, and you're feeling a little woozy. Just sit down, hold tight. We're trying to figure this thing out. It's new for everybody. Like, we don't know what happens when you got kiddos trying to whack a skunk with a rake that's in a backpack, and I brought a box down, and then one of the kids gets hit in the head, but that's where we at. The skunk somehow manages to turn around, and then he just now his tail's in the backpack, and he just skunks the inside of Paralegal's backpack. So you know as well as I do, that backpack's done. Like, there ain't nothing you need to carry bad enough where you might just soon hold it than put it in that backpack now. I mean, that thing is done. Burn it, throw it away, start over. So then things just go south quick from here, and I'm there for every little bit of it. The skunk runs away, so I don't know if it got a little bald patch on his neck now where it pulled free from that zipper, but it turned around, skunked the inside of whatever's left in that backpack, and they try and do a few more activities, like Russell tried to get back to normal. We don't need the box now. We don't need the rake now, because they was going to go take the skunk and set it free. Well, that skunk set himself free, and he set himself free inside that backpack, if you know what I mean. So that's where they are. Now they're trying to do some more like knot tying activities or, you know, cooking something over the fire activities, that kind of thing. But everybody's basically just their mind somewhere else now, you know, and that backpack somewhere else now too. They throwed it on the other side of the fields just trying to get as far away from them as they could. You know, Russell's gagging and Paralegal's crying a little bit. You know, his backpack's gone. I don't know what kindly it was. It might have been some sort of superhero backpack, but it's gone now. That superhero couldn't defeat no skunk. I'll tell you that right now. So they threw the backpack. They finally made it to the trash can by the dugouts on the way out. And then I made sure Champ got home woozy and all. It was a mess, but they didn't, I mean, it wasn't a whole full night camp out. But you know the thing about messes is you can learn from the messes too. So softball fields this week, we're down there. We got to play a game at these exact same fields where all this went down with the skunk. So people get to the softball fields, setting up the concession stand, players showing up, people are gagging. They getting close to that trash can and Buddy the Stank just hits them. I don't know why we didn't think of that the other night, but you know, if they was going to start a fire, they should have just thrown the backpack in it. But it's inside a trash can near the dugouts, and people are just having the hardest time. Ricky Don Pearson, he got a hold of a broken broom handle, and he's fishing that skunk backpack out of the trash can because he knows full well it's got to go somewhere else. Now, the thing about it is there wasn't no liner in that park trash can, and that's somebody's fault. I don't know who. I'd point a finger if I knew who to point to, but so, you know, otherwise you just wrap up that plastic bag with the backpack in it and tote it away. Well, there wasn't no liner, so now Ricky Don's just trying to get the skunk backpack out of there and get it. I mean, I don't know at this point. Once it's already contaminated, the whole thing, if the stink's going to deaden moving that backpack away, because it had a whole night or night and a half to like day and a half, I don't know, like 14 hours. I don't know, y'all guys, the time frame, but all I'm saying is that backpack marinated in that trash can in the park, and it was rough on folks. Well, Whitney Mantell, that's Cody's cousin. That's JT Whitlow's girlfriend. You know, she bring an air horn to every softball game. She throwed up. I mean, she's a gal that loves attention. She loves to try to sing the national anthem when nobody's asking her to. She loved to blow the air horn when nobody wants her to. Nobody ever wants her to blow an air horn, truth be told. Well, Whitney, you want the attention? throwing up at the softball game got it for you. And she's dry heaving and wet heaving over there. Ain't good for concession stand business. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, it is not good for the concession stand. Ricky Don's a hero, though. He threw that in the back of his Ford F-150, sacrificing his own truck bed to get that backpack out of the city fields so that folks can enjoy some adult softball league action and concession stand food without having to throw it up for real or dry heave or gag, tears to your eyes, just sad about life. You know, he owns Sutter Me Up, Ricky Don Pearson, dude. That's the laundromat in town. But I don't think he was going to wash that backpack. Although it would be a good commercial if it came out smelling fine. Boy, everybody'd be lining up to go to Sutter Me Up to wash their clothes. I mean, if it can get out of skunk stink, it can get out of, your grimy work clothes and that kind of thing. But who cares? It's softball time. So first things first, Mary Beth Tucker, she's dating Myron Curtis. She's the one who's the little sister of Russell Tucker who ran the Wilderness Pack. Don't matter no how, but Mary Beth Tucker got poison oak this week. You know about poison oak? Buddy, you don't want to know if you don't know. Let me just say that. Looks like she fell in some hot soup that had a mad cat in the bottom of the soup pot. I mean, just red and scratchy. Did not look comfortable at all. And you really don't want a gal reaching down, scratching her leg, then handing you a hot dog or a bag of donut holes at the concession stand in that condition. I mean, 100% sales is going to drop. Between a concession stand lady with poison oak and a skunk backpack that's marinating in the trash can by the dugouts, it is a hard sell for anybody to want to eat anything at the fields this week. But Cricket took over with Cheryl Groves. Cricket's my gal. She works at the nursing home and she helps her family farm. And then she delivers produce to the burger shed in town, all that kind of thing. But she took over with Cheryl Grubbs at the concession stand. Cheryl was telling Cricket how Perry Lee's going to need a new backpack because, that's her little boy whose backpack got skunked and taken away by Ricky Don Pearson. So they trying to let Mary Beth just go home. Just go home and scratch her poison oak or don't. But, don't be here right now, Mary Beth. Just go recover kind of a thing. So Cricket told her there's a bunch of backpacks donated to the nursing home where she worked. They got extra. As long as Perry Lee don't mind a backpack that advertises for adult diapers or hearing aids, she said you could have one. And then we go out to the fields, my concern ain't the concession stand or really Perry Lee's backpack at this point is Team Burger Shed putting another W on the boards this year in the adult softball league. But I tell you, the field stunk. That backpack just cooking in that trash can all night was not good. Mort Dwight-L could barely handle it. He dry heaves real loud too. If Mort's about to dry heave, you know about it. If he ain't feeling well, you know about it. And if for some reason him, Myron Curtis, anybody's not feeling good and they shuffle over to that park bathroom, everybody really knows about it. Them park bathrooms echo, buddy. I mean, they echo. And then that grosses other people out. Mort dry heaving so loud. Myron Curtis, like I said, he got tender guts, but that's when he eats something that don't agree with his tummy. This is just a smell. And actually, Myron didn't care about the smell. He was good to go. Might have played better. I mean, he's 4 for 5 tonight with 3 RBIs. Rance Farnhart played some gold glove shortstop. We needed that. Turned 3 double plays, and he hit a 2-run homer. Rance runs Fishing Clips, which is the bait and tackle shop in town where he gives haircuts on a patio. And he came in dialed in. He must have had a good lunch out there. One of his doubles, Rance's double, should have been a single, but he legged it out. And didn't want to stand, he didn't want to stand close to that trash can. If you're on first base, you're closer to that skunk trash can than if you're on second base. So we was really trying to move. Most of us stayed one end of the dugout tonight, the one farthest from the trash can. So we kind of hunkered down and gathered over there when we was, waiting to bat. Auto parts fellas, I mean, they had a big 5th inning. I'm going to give it to them. They had a big 5th inning. Now, the auto parts store, the one I'm talking about is the one next to Donut Goes. Right next to the same parking lot as the donut store in town. I got my town map shirt. I'll put my merch, like I said, with that code POSSUM today, POSSUM. You can pick up a town map shirt if you need to know where everything in town is. Softball fields, early bird gets the perm, donut goes, burger shed, Fishing Clips, all that. Anyhow, 5th inning, auto parts score, they scored 7 times, y'all guys. That's a lot of runs to push across that home plate. In 1 inning, 7 runs. Cody Mantell, though, he tripled in the last inning, and guess who popped the ball up? Me. That's what they call a sacrifice fly, because we didn't have 2 outs. So, if you hit it out far enough and they catch it and then he tag up from third base and hit home base before they tag him out, that count for a run for us. That's just standard baseball, softball rules. Cody scored, and Team Burger shed 1. Nobody hoisted me on their shoulders. We just wanted to get away from that dugout. Team Burger shed 1, 8 runs to 7. All them auto parts runs was in that 1/5 inning, and then we helped them the other ends. Now we 10 wins to 3 losses this week, or this whole season. We 10-3, and we playing Thunder Punch next week. That's the boxing gym in town that Coach Hicks runs, and he was my high school PE teacher. He ran to Long John Silver's in the county next over, had a double cab truck when I was in high school, so he's making that money. But now he's the head lifeguard at the city pool, and he's got his own boxing gym called Thunder Punch, and we playing his team, and they probably the team to beat. I like to think us, Team Burger Shed's the team to beat, but Thunder Punch, the last couple seasons, they've been the team, and you got to call it when you see it. No, but we can hang with them. Cricket told Mary Beth, to get home and earlier in the game and to put that ointment on them legs, whatever you do for that poison oak, because she scratched them so much before they left, they started to bleed. Come on, Mary Beth. I ended up getting a cherry snow cone. Good night at the fields, free snow cones if you win. And, buddy, Team Burger Shed has won. Appreciate y'all joining me today on the Tab and Dillard podcast. Check them show notes. You'll see my Venmo there. You'll see the link to all the merch with the discount code you can use. You'll see my number if you want to shoot me a text message, 501-322-6249. You can always holler at me via email, tabanddillard@gmail.com, and then you'll see the link for them Nashville show tickets. Get them while you can. And hey, if you ain't a backpack that had a skunk front ways in it, munching on a Jolly Rancher, then back ways in it, unloading skunkery all inside that thing, then you sit in a trash can all night marinating in skunk juice, you having a pretty good week. Me, I'm Tab and Dillard. This is the Tab and Dillard podcast. Till next time, y'all guys. We'll see you later.